Hi guys, welcome to my student loan horror stories. Yeah, this is something that you don't usually hear all the time, and I saw that my last video on education, which was on the failures of education, just ranting about it for 16 minutes, I literally could not figure out a title, and I just saw how long the video was and just said, ranting about the failures, right? Well, I also want to rant about my student loans and the horror stories behind them, because I mean, I knew about it, and like I grew up on Dave Ramsey. I grew up learning that debt is bad and that you shouldn't go into debt because of status. And I mean, who loans a couple like dozens of thousands of dollars to 18-year-olds? Like if an 18-year-old applied for a $40,000 personal loan, or like a $40,000 mortgage. I mean, I don't think mortgages are that small, but like, I mean, who does that to an 18-year-old? You know, and now you do it in the name of education. And like I was doing the math, and thankfully I took a degree course. I took a course that was like way more strong, or I'm sorry to my English teachers, that was stronger, and gave me the academic fortitude or the mathematical fortitude to understand the math behind it. And just doing the math, it's just a simple accumulation equation where it's like in minus out, right? How much money is going in and how much money is leaving. I quickly realized like how devastating this is. And I even had to drop out of school because I just couldn't afford it. And I mean, just seeing how schools operate, they're not all run by financial gurus. And like they can say that they've got any sort of like, you know, they've got the status of having like a higher level school, or like they've got this education, or they have this many accomplishments. But what they don't tell you is that like crappy people with crappy business practices and just crappy personalities and just relationship practices, they are able to have accomplishments and achievements, and they enact terrible policies when it comes to school. And so like I noticed the differences between my university and my brother's university. And like my brother's university, you had to pay at certain points in time, and at my university, like they almost didn't care, unless like, you know, they just kept sending me not really invoices but notices that I hadn't paid, and like I couldn't afford it. And there was no requirement to do, you know, to pay before you enrolled in school. It was like, well, just pay. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, how do you allow people to enroll in your school without making them pay first? Because at my community college, I was forced to pay before the term started. And like, when you enroll, you have 5 days to pay for that. And so, I mean, that's what kept the school going. And I think it's what makes sure that they handle their money well. And I was part of like a finance committee. Not really like, I don't think that's the right term to use, but we were in charge of divvying out, student funds. Like there was a certain fee on top of tuition, which went to like campus beautification, clubs and services, or like just student activities, you know, things that help the students and is there for student life to be better. And I was in charge of that. I mean, I wasn't in charge, but I was part of that, and we handled the money really well. And we had $2 million to deal with, and we worked with projections. We worked with the clubs, the campus clubs, and just we had them present to us their cases, and you know, we gave them money. And so, or we divvied it out. We were a recommending body, not an actual voting body, so we couldn't actually divvy out the money, but we could tell student senate, like, yes, we approve. And so that was my job. And I just don't see that kind of behavior of like, of frugality at my university. And I'm not saying they're bad people, but I'm just going to say, like, if you've got a bunch of Nepo babies who rely on mommy and daddy's money, you have very lax business practices, and you don't instill responsibility at all whatsoever. And so I had to drop out of school. I had some student loans, and like, the other thing with student loans is like, you know, when I say I was raised on Dave Ramsey, like since the recession back in 2008, I was listening to Dave Ramsey, not out of my own thing, but like my parents. Of course I was listening to Dave Ramsey because they were. And so I know that student loans were an absolute no-no, but like, there was no way I could afford school. And now with the Dave Ramsey show, they had George Camel talking about a borrowed future. And I mean, I felt that way. I mean, it was very validating to hear the testimonies of people talking about like, it was either achieve my dreams and go into debt, or don't achieve your dreams at all, and you feel cornered. And it's not like, oh, well, you shouldn't care about what people think. The social pressure is real, and especially when it comes from your parents, from your community, in order to achieve, like, you know, it's very difficult to not back down. And when you're 18, you're still a baby. And I mean, at 23 years old, I was teaching 18-year-olds, and to me, the 18-year-olds were really like 9 years old. They needed that much hand-holding when it came to just making good decisions in life. And so, you know, I don't think 18-year-olds are mature enough to take on loans that large, and then that's why you have the Parent Plus loan. But I mean, that I feel like that introduces a place where division can happen, and bad relationships can start happening between a kid and their parents when you have their parents as a co-signer to the loan. And it's just not a good look overall. And like, I will 100% stand by what I'm going to say, which is you don't need to go to college right away. I do not agree that you don't need to go to college. Like, yeah, I get that. And there's a lot of education that can happen when you're in the workforce, because I can tell you I am a much better worker than I am a student. I will get things done at work. I'm a great manager. I can order things out. I make sure people go to break. I hound people for not going on break, because I find that a rested worker, someone who's got adequate amount of rest, produces way better work, and they're not burnt out, and they love me for making them take breaks. Like, yes, you're not showing me that you work hard or that you're a team player by not taking a break. You show me that you're a team player by working as a team when you are required to work. And when my policies say so, you need to have a break. And even if my policies don't say so, because I was in a good enough work environment beforehand, you're going to take a break. I want you to produce quality work, because that reflects well on me that you produce quality work. So you get to have rest. And it's not just that you get to have rest, but you are going to rest. That is education that I received outside of school, and it's made me far more mature. I am way better at budgeting, because now it's not just me that I have to care about, but there are people who are relying on my accuracy, and I need to make sure that they're getting what they deserve as a worker. And also, people who are above me are relying on my accuracy when it comes to reports, so they know exactly how many clothes to send to the store, exactly how many hours to divvy out for people. And I mean, it's not just in retail. Like, I worked in an engineering co-op and in other manufacturing environments, and it's that level of organization and tenacity that makes me a better worker. And because of the manufacturing environments that I was in and how it ties in with engineering, I feel so much more prepared to be an engineer. I know how to operate a forklift. I can operate a crane. I can operate another lift fork, or a lift truck. What's it called? A pallet jack. Like, I can operate those things, and because I've operated those things, I understand engineering way better. And because I've been a teacher also, and the reason I've been a teacher is because of my associate's degree. And that saved me. That definitely saved me. I was able to get an emergency sub-certificate. Now, that is not an absolute guarantee. You've got to check with your local school district. You got to check with your local laws. But getting that associate's degree did help me. So I'm not saying degrees don't help. But what I am saying is that I have gotten so much judgment for not finishing up school right away, when nobody asked me about like why I wasn't able to finish up school. There's an automatic assumption that I'm lazy, that I don't work hard enough, that I'm not focused. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was up until 5 a.m. studying every single night while you were able to go out to the movie theater on a school night during university. Excuse me, how much were you paying for school? You paid a couple $1,000 so you could spend another $30 going to the movies because you wanted the college experience and hang out with your friends. I get wanting to hang out with your friends, friends. It makes teamwork way better when when you're able to hang out in a non-work environment. Teamwork is just so much better. You get things done more quickly. But like, how are you able to judge me when I've been slaving away to get my chemical engineering degree, and then all of a sudden I can't go to school and I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to be airing out my business to everyone, and you're like, oh, you're just lazy, you need to finish up school. I'd fool around. I'm like, I'm not fooling around. I worked my butt off to get to the jobs that I did, to get the education that I have, and I simply can't afford it. So I said this in an Instagram reel that I posted earlier. If you'd like to judge me for my actions between the last time I was in school and now, you can cut me a check. I take Venmo also. But like, you can cut me a check, write out some terms and conditions, make sure everything's spell checked, because I'm not signing anything that isn't perfectly spelled out. And if I agree to the terms and conditions and I accept your money and I deposit it into my bank account, then I will, you know, I'll comply with your judgment. But you see, my student loans, they sent me something to sign and I signed it. And now they're able to tell me, you owe me this at this percentage, and you have to pay me this every single month, or you're gonna face consequences. And I'm like, that sounds good to me. I signed that. And if you didn't, send me something, like, you don't get to judge me. So here's the thing. When it came to school, the reason why I'm not gonna go back into debt to finish up school is because, like, I had to drop out, I got sick, and you just never know when life's going to happen. Me getting sick, I was severely sick during my senior year, during senior design, and I just could not pay for school. And after that, I had to go home, went back to my retail job after I recovered, but I just couldn't. And it's very difficult. And here's the thing, what a lot of humanities people don't understand is that engineering classes, especially like higher level chemical or more specialized engineering classes, they don't happen all the time. You don't have them. You can't just pick up the next semester or the next term, because who in their right mind studies engineering? Who in their right mind gives their life over to math? Not normal people. Therefore, there are far fewer people who enter these positions, who enter into these degrees, and because it's engineering, you're not usually studying to become a professor. Therefore, there's a lot fewer people who will be professors, and people are people, meaning they need breaks. And it's not always going to be available. You probably have one professor teaching like 3 or 4 subjects throughout the entire year. They're going to need their summers off. They need time to spend with their families. Their whole job isn't just to be a professor, you know? And so it's not like English classes, and I'm not knocking on English classes. I mean, I have like the most insightful professors that I've ever met as English professors, but there's a greater availability of them, because there's more people who pursue those degrees, and not everyone who goes into English wants to become an author. Sometimes their whole thing is that they want to be a high school teacher because of the experience they had with their high school teachers. So you produce more academics, more teachers in such degrees, and there's nothing wrong with that. We need great teachers, but you don't have a lot of great teachers in chemical engineering. And so I have to be very strategic with how I attend school. I can't just attend school just because and expect to finish up my degree in December. You know, it's not like that. And so what I have noticed with my degree is that, like, and with my student loans, is that you just never know when things are gonna happen. And when life happens, you have to be prepared for it. You can't be like, oh, I never saw this happening. You just need to know that life sucks. And while life doesn't suck, you need to create that cushion, that monetary cushion, so that life doesn't suck as much and you're not falling by the wayside. So in the meantime, I've been making money. I got married. I'm building myself up. but like I've had terrible notions of like, oh, you're just being lazy. What in chemical engineering tells you that I'm lazy? I studied, if I wanted to finish up my degree, like I had one friend telling me like, you just need to major in something. Heck no. That's like telling me just get married to someone right now. Like you're getting expired. Like you're a spinster. Like, no, you don't just marry someone for the sake of being married. You marry someone because you need to find the right person and you want to find the right person. And you want to do life with another person. It's a huge responsibility. You don't just marry someone because you feel like you're off on a timeline, and that's how I feel about my degree. I want to get the chemical engineering degree. I'm not just going to major in chemistry because I'd actually like to be employed. I don't have the grades to get a job with just a chemistry degree. Okay? And so, like, I've had to get into it with a few friends, and you know what? I'm very glad that I found some psychologists on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube where they will talk about, like, you know, people never talk about friendship breakups too, and I'm like, amen, because that needed to happen, and sometimes falling outs just happen. And so, like, I've had a few friends who are extremely judgmental over that. And like the people who were the least judgmental were people that were super successful in the field that I wanted to pursue. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that like one of them, he was like, you're an engineer? Do you have a good degree? And I'm like, well, I have just my associate's degree. I haven't finished up the real one yet. And he's like, no shame in that, good for you. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you, my goodness. And like, I ran into a girl when I was doing retail, and we had taken organic chemistry together, and I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever. And she hadn't finished up her degree yet either. And organic chemistry is a difficult class. Like, I mean, I don't know what's up with you humanities majors, but like, how come I get so much judgment for being lazy because I'm not finishing up my degree on time when I took organic chemistry and I took it twice? Like, I would have switched another degree by now because after I failed the first time, you know, like, I don't understand why there's that immediate judgment of being lazy when the simplest homework problems that I have put you into a coma and you need to go out like every single Friday night or even school nights you need to go out because like it's so much stress, there's just so much stress and all that. I'm like, I didn't even have time to sleep. I slept on the floor of my dorm, like the hard floor of my dorm, so I wouldn't be too comfortable in that uncomfortable mattress that I had, and just so that I could wake up and do my homework. School is very expensive, and I don't understand why everyone wants to be so judgmental and like want people to take out loans. Well, I took out loans, and I'm like, yeah, and you're not really the example of financial stability that I want to follow. Like, excuse me for judging you too, but you're not really the beacon of hope that I'm looking for when it comes to being in a financial situation that I want to be in. And like, I get that, like, you know, there is a certain level of maturity that happens in analytical skills that result from being in college. I know, because I went to college. But like, there is also great value in just real life education in the work environment, especially in manufacturing. Like, in engineering, the only thing that's ever peddled to you is really just design engineering, and nobody ever tells you just how cool it is to like do metrology all day long, and how important and impactful like just maintaining things are. Like, you know, if your only job ever is just to maintain machinery, you are doing the Lord's work. I kid you not, you are. So like, I have seen just so much judgment happening, especially when it came to, my main horror story when it came to student loans is really just like the social judgment that I got for trying to be financially responsible and returning to school when I'm on both of my feet again. Not when I'm like, I feel like I've gotten my leg chopped off and like my hand tied behind my back, and that's how I felt with my student loans, and I couldn't go back to school because I couldn't afford it, and people are like, just take out loans, and I'm like, no, because I did that already, and it was hell. It was absolute hell to pay back things. It was absolute hell to try to pay school when they have such poor payment policies. And so they're just like, well, you can just, like, you know, your parents can take care of it. No, they can't. No, they cannot. Where is the equity? Where is your understanding? You know, that lack of understanding is that lack of equity, and that shows up in payment policies. And yeah, like, it's just been terrible. So my main lesson was like, oh my gosh, I owe this much money and life just happened to me. I am not prepared to go back to school. And math is like the worst atrophying muscle. I'm not just gonna go back to school and finish up because I can. Have you tried to take a math class? Or have you, like, I need all of you judgmental people to think about this. I dare you to take an Algebra 2 exam right now. And if you can't, don't frickin' judge me for not going back to school right away. My math is far harder than Algebra 2. Just to let you know, I took 4 calculus classes, 2 differential equations classes, and 3 statistics classes. And so I know how to do math, okay? It doesn't mean that I understand it fully right now, but I sure can tell you that, like, the easiest thing that I do is far harder than what your brain can comprehend. And so I don't want any more judgment of, like, you're being lazy, you just you're messing around, not finishing up school. Cut me a check or send me 1,000 plus in my Venmo. That's the bare minimum. Actually, 10,000 is what I accept in my Venmo. So here's the thing, like, if people are judging you, I'm gonna let you know now, don't let people judge you. Don't be triggered by their judgment. But also, like, it is not worth it to go into student loans. I don't care what kind of social pressure you are experiencing, what kind of FOMO your parents are experiencing, and what kind of stupidity your friends, your so-called friends, are imposing on you when you're not finishing up school right away. Like, it's extremely expensive. I mean, like, Proverbs says, get wisdom, though it cost all you have. And wisdom, my education, which has helped me with work and has made my companies, like, lots of money. And they're not mine, like, I wasn't the owner, but the companies that I worked for. It's made them lots of money because of the skills I learned in school. Like, I mean, this costed me a lot of money and a lot of my mental health. Like, I was so driven. I was so driven all the time, and I got burnt out. I got sick, not because of school, because of COVID. That's how I got sick, and I got it pretty bad. Yeah, like, people just want to be very, very, very judgmental. People who, quote unquote, care about you, want to be very judgmental and will say every nasty thing to you just because you don't follow what they do, and they have never cut you any money towards school. There are people who have cut you money towards school and they still want to be judgmental because you're not doing everything on time, but they haven't helped you out in more ways. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Like, I learned this from there was a caller on Dave Ramsey. She was 19 years old, and she was talking about how, like, her mom isn't really that good with money, and she was trying to figure out how she was going to pay for the semester. You're 19, baby. Like, you don't need to put yourself in that right away. Be a kid. And when I mean be a kid, learn how to be an adult at 19. Okay? There is so much worth when you learn how to deal with people simply by working retail, and you become you become like an assistant manager or a co-manager, and you do well in your job and you do well in customer service. I kid you not, guys. Customer service skills bring you so far, because it teaches you how to build relationships, building that clientele, building that customer relationship, and having those customers return, and simply, like, that customer loyalty, not just based off the points or the credit cards, but because you are a nice person, like, and you help them and you are competent at your job. Do you realize how transferable those skills are and how well those skills, like, move everywhere and get you money. Like, your best money making skill is being nice to people, and I will 100% stand by that. And there are so many people who are so sour because you haven't gotten your degree by the time you were 22. I have seen 22-year-old men in engineering, and I will tell you this. The guys that I had seen graduating school at 24 make way better life decisions than the guys that graduated 22. And like I told you, I am so much better equipped to be an engineer because now I've actually worked in manufacturing. I didn't waste time in school. I didn't waste time not finishing up school because I wasn't able to do, I wasn't able to graduate right away. I didn't waste time. I was working my butt off getting things done. I was working my butt off getting higher in the chain of command. I was working my butt off making that overtime pay over holidays because I need to afford life. And if you don't think that didn't give me skills, you are very mistaken. Go work in the manufacturing environment 10 hours a day. I did that. I worked 12-hour days, and I was working hourly, and I had to plan out my life, and I was still tutoring on the side. I had no time, and I busted my butt every single day being gazelle intense about my loans, because guess what? I hate having a couple $100,000 strapped to my back. And I mean, that's not all student loans. My student loans right now, probably just mine, it's like 37, I'll just make that 38,000 plus one's 14, I'll just make it 15,000. So that is going to be 13,1. That's like $53,000 in student loans. That's a lot of money. And once I did the math for it, I saw one of my student loans was like, oh, you can pay off $1,000 in 10 years. I'm like, I am not paying off $1,000 in 10 years. I'm not doing this bare minimum crap. I'm paying off $1,000 immediately. I want to be in a position where I don't have to worry and I can just fully focus on finishing up my degree. I cannot work like some of y'all can. I cannot work while being in school. And I know myself, and you don't. And you need to tell people that once you figure out how to struggle. And I told this to my students all the time I taught at an alternative high school. And I wanted to encourage them because most of them are like, I'm just stupid and I'm never going to amount to anything. And I'm like, excuse me. You figuring out how to struggle, or you struggling right now, puts you ahead of everyone else. Everyone else that is taking AP classes right now, that is taking dual enrollment, that has everything set up for them and they're going to college this year. You are way ahead of them because they don't know how to struggle and you do. You know how to struggle when it comes to money. And you struggling in my class right now, in this math class, and I'm just going to let you know, Matt, I really don't care that you understand anything about trigonometry. What I care about is that you're a good person after this, and I'm giving you the analytical skills when it comes to math so that when you have to write checks for people, when you have to divvy out hours to people as a manager, when you need to take care of a spouse and children when the time comes, you are able to do so confidently and you can handle stress. And that's what I want them to understand. That's what I understand about myself. And so, the horror about my student loans is that the interest rate is terrible. I learned with my federal student loan that the compounding rate is daily. So the interest rate is yearly, but the compounding rate is daily. And if you did any sort of math with percentages, and in this case, it's growth and decay, exponential growth and decay. What helps you to make more money when you're doing some sort of investment is greater compounding periods. So you want something that doesn't compound yearly, compounds quarterly. If you've got the choice between compounding quarterly or monthly, you choose monthly. Between compounding monthly and daily, you choose daily, right? And that's what is going on. And so the compounding rate, or the compounding period for one of my student loans, is daily. And what people don't understand, oh, that's a yearly 4%. 4% is a lot of money. I know 4% doesn't sound like a super majority. It's definitely not 51%, which would, be absolutely crazy. But you guys need to understand statistics. Voting statistics cannot be applied to financial statistics. Financial statistics, 4% is scary. You need to hear this. Even 1% is scary in financial statistics. And when I was trying to pay off my student loans and like just even get current on them, getting engaged is what got me to be more on top of my money, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to help pay for this wedding. Like I'm not just help, but I paid for a lot of stuff in this wedding. I paid for videography, I paid for photography, I paid for my dress, I paid for all of hair and makeup, I paid for, what else did I pay for? A lot of things. And so I paid for flowers. I paid for all of my bridesmaids' dresses. I paid for a lot of things, and I wanted to be able to do that because like I hate bridezillas so much, thinking that they're entitled to the entire world. And so and I'm the oldest daughter. Like, how am I not supposed to take care of my own stuff? Like, that's just me. And so like, I just seeing the pattern that was in my own home when it came to school, and just like me having to basically take on most of it. I didn't want to impose that on my parents with my wedding, so like I wanted to take on most of it. And that was a want for me, because then if I pay for it, then I'm in charge of the quality. And I think it's one thing, to be in charge of quality and you're not paying for it, but then if you're paying for it, you can dictate everything. So that's why I wanted to do that. And that's why I paid for it. And so like getting engaged, getting married, all the wedding expenses really, really helped me to focus and get current with my student loans and paying off school, because it's very expensive. It's extremely expensive. And like the visual you have to put on yourself is like a ball and chain. And when you have that many, when you've got the amount that you do when it comes to student loans, like it comes with interest. So it's not only a ball and chain, but it grows. The chain grows too. It's like it's a compounding mass. It's like you keep trudging around in mud that dries up with a ball and chain. And so when it dries up, you collect that mass, so it becomes even harder to break free of it, and then it rusts, so you have a harder time even unlocking it. That's what it's like to be in student loans, and that's why I am never going back to that. So if you like this video, if you like my complaints, and you want to keep on watching this, or if like you need to show this to your kid, or you need to show this to your parent or whomever when it comes to school, like I'm just gonna say, use this video, share it, whatever. But if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and tell me if you want to hear more stories like this. Like, student loans are scary. Don't get them. And like, I paid off one. Oh, it was so freeing. I felt liberated. Like I could actually breathe. Actually doing the math and writing everything down. Like I could do everything in Excel, but I find that actually writing things down makes it more painful. So I have that greater drive to actually like want to get out of debt. I felt like I had a noose. Like think like every single student loan is like a noose around your neck tied to a millstone, and each time you pay one of them off, or like you make dents in them, you're like, you got a knife and like you're scratching at this really thick rope that's burning you around your neck, and then you're released from it. Like you still have a lot of weight, but that millstone dropping is like, you feel even better. And so yeah, please don't ever go into student loans. You don't need to go to college right away. Get your education being in the workplace. Do something in service, like you can do like hospitality, food or customer service. The amount or like retail, that like those customer service skills bring you so many skills that you bring with you everywhere, and have honestly made me the person that I am in the manufacturing environments that I work in. So yeah, please, like, don't go into student loans. It is absolutely terrible. All right, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye.